evening, everyone. Good evening. It's so nice to have you here for the 2024 MLK International Poetry and Story Festival. This is our annual event, the annual event of the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg, to honor the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We want to do an event that would bring our community together, that would inspire, that would uplift, but also that would send us out into the world with a mission, with something that we're supposed to do to carry on the legacy. And so part of what we're doing here tonight is highlighting local poets who we have found inspirational, and we brought them back year after year to perform their works. But we also have a very special calling with this, and that is to encourage the next generation of poets and storytellers. And so that is why we also sponsor the MLK International Poetry and Storytelling High School Competition. Now listen, these are young people who have taken the time to be creative around the theme of MLK's legacy, and we have a different theme each year. And not every student, not every person is capable of the kind of creativity and eloquence that our students have displayed. I'm going to tell you, we have been, and the judges are here, we will honor the judges, we have all been blown away by the talent and the heart that we saw in these poems and stories. So that is only to give you this overview. You know, I'm Joyce Davis, I'm Penn Live's Outreach and Opinion Editor, but I'm also the President and CEO of the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg. Before we get started, I also want to take the time to acknowledge our sponsors. This event is free of charge, right? That is only possible because we have sponsors like the Giant Company, like Penn Live and the Patriot News, like Pinion Bank. Pinion Bank gives us generous donations to help us with our youth programs. And of course, the Civic Club of Harrisburg. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, but I do want to acknowledge if our sponsors are here, if there are representatives of them, would you stand up and allow us to applaud you? Evie, would you stand up on behalf of Penn Live and the Patriot News? Thank you. Thank you for all your business. And I also want to acknowledge, first of all, and really responsible for this meal tonight, the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, led by Chad Thiaw. Chad wouldn't have been here tonight, but he has a conflict, but you know what? He's here in spirit, and the food from CJ Caters is because of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. So, with Hagir, did I forget anything? Is there anything else I need to? No. I'm okay. All right. This is my board right here. This is my board, so I gotta pay attention to her. But okay, so to get us started, you already know what the theme of this event is, and it is basically breaking the silence. You know, this is in line with what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King attempted to do in his speech when he broke the silence about Vietnam. And we'll get to a reading of excerpts of that, but before we go any further, I would like to ask you guys to take out your phones if you have them, look up the Black National Anthem, because you're going to need to sing it, and you're going to need to know the words. Not all of you have it memorized, and we're not all as old as me when it first started being sung. All right? So please look on your phones. We want you to really see these words, to appreciate these words. Come on in, we're just getting started. To appreciate these words and let them really speak meaning. And we have a master singer here tonight to help us and lead us in the singing of this most important anthem. And that is Chris Say. I don't know if any of you know who Chris Say is, but he is very well known in our community. extraordinary tenor. He can talk a little bit about his organization, Ky'Mirh, which provides all kinds of wonderful concerts in our region. But I am just delighted that Chris has agreed to lead us in the singing of the Black National Anthem. Chris.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so I'm going to kill a little more time while you're looking at the words on your cell phone. So as Joyce mentioned, I'm Christian Say, Artistic Director of CAMA, which is Capital Area Music Association. We are a choral group in Harrisburg that focuses on the music of African American composers and African American culture. So we do an annual concert every November, traditionally the Friday before Thanksgiving. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be going here to Penn State University, be part of their African American Music Festival, and we hope to do hopefully a Broadway review or fundraising event later in the spring of this year. So this is the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. I ask that you respectfully stand, and we're going to sing verses 1 and 3. Now we have a full evening ahead of us. We got delicious food in the back. We got wonderful stories and poetry tonight. So I'm going to attempt to direct, and we're going to take this at a nice clip, okay? But again, verses 1 and verses 3. So please make sure you have your cell phones ready. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Verse 3. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Let's sing it out. Let's sing it out. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Sing it out. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Give yourselves a
We have some really amazing voices in here. So thank you all. Thank you again, Chris. Let's give it a hand. Thank you, Chris. I also neglected to mention a very, very important sponsor tonight. And thank you, Michelle. Michelle Angert is our program director, and so she keeps me in check. Thank you, Michelle. You guys may know that Harrisburg is being blessed with an incredibly important institution. An institution of learning for our little ones, the Ky'Mirh School. And we are really delighted that the Ky'Mirh School is a sponsor of tonight's event. I don't know if anybody's here with the school. If you'd like to stand up, please stand up and tell us who you are.
Thank you for having us. My name is Jackie David, and I'm the enrollment coordinator at the Harrisburg Center.
during the dinner program we'll have you come because we're really eager to know how things are, when the opening, just to let our families know that this is an option, an educational option for them here. So thank you for being here. Come on in, it's informal. Go ahead. All right. So as we said, there is a purpose for what we're doing here because MLK, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, had a purpose to his life. Some of us know very well, right, the sermon or the speech that he gave in Washington that has defined him, the I Have a Dream speech. But Dr. King was about a whole lot more. He was a world leader. Many of you know he also was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, right? After he got that prize, he felt an intense burden, an intense calling for world peace. And so that is what you're going to hear tonight, some excerpts of a speech he gave that called for global peace and understanding. And I have twisted the arm of my son, Cole Davis Goodman, to ask him to come and read excerpts of this speech. So please welcome Cole and tell him his mama's okay.
Twisting of the arm is very correct way. But I am honored to do it, and it's an honor to be here with you and to reflect on the life of a great man, but also all of the civil rights leaders that gave their lives, that gave their struggle, their time, their hearts to making sure that we can all sit in this room together and be at peace together. I will be reading a few excerpts from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the speech he gave at Riverside Church in New York City on April 4th, 1967, to boldly express his opposition to the Vietnam War. The theme for tonight's Poetry and Storytelling Festival, A Call for Peace, a Time to Break Silence, is based on that speech that is titled Beyond Vietnam, a Time to Break Silence. A time comes when silence is betrayal, and that time has come for us in relation to Vietnam. Some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony, but we must speak. We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate to our limited vision, but we must speak. Over the past 2 years, as I have moved to break the betrayal of my own silences and to speak from the burnings of my own heart, as I have called for the radical departures of the destruction of Vietnam, many persons have questioned me about the wisdom of my path. At the heart of their concerns, this query has often loomed large and loud. Why are you speaking about war, Dr. King? Why are you joining the voices of dissent? Peace and civil rights, they don't mix. Aren't you hurting the cause of your people? They ask. And when I hear them, though I often understand the source of their concern, I am nevertheless greatly saddened. For such questions mean that the inquirers have not really known me, or my commitment, or my calling. Indeed, their questions suggest that they do not know the world in which they live. We are called to speak for the weak, for the voiceless, for the victims of our nation, and for those it calls enemy. For no document of human hands can make these humans any less our brothers and our sisters. Here's the true meaning and value of compassion and nonviolence, when it helps us to see the enemy's point of view, to hear his questions, to know his assessment of ourselves. From his view, from her view, we may indeed see the basic weaknesses of our own condition, And if we are mature, we may learn and grow and profit from the wisdom of the brothers who are called the opposition. I am convinced that if we are to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from one thing-oriented society to a person and a people-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people. The giant triples of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. We are now faced with the fact, my friends, that tomorrow is today. Tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of right now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such thing as being too late. Procrastination is still the thief of time. Life often leaves us standing bare, naked, and dejected with a lost opportunity. The tide in the affairs of men does not remain at flood. We may cry out desperately for time to pause in her passage, but time is adamant to every plea, and it rushes on. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residues of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, too late. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. But we still have a choice today. Nonviolent coexistence or violent annihilation. Or violent co-annihilation. We must move past indecision to action. We must find new ways to speak. We must find also new ways to speak for peace and justice throughout the developing world, a world that borders our own doors. If we do not act, we shall surely be dragged down the long, the dark, and the shameful corridors of time reserved for those who possess power without compassion, might without morality, and strength without sight. Now let us begin. Now let us begin to rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world. Shall we say the odds are too great? Shall we tell them the struggle is too hard? Will our message be that the forces of American life militate against their arrival as full men, and we send our deepest regrets? Or will there be another message of longing, of hope, of solidarity, of love, with their yearnings of commitment to their cause, whatever the cost? The choice is ours. And through it all, we shall prevail. And though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of history. We must choose to make sure we're not too late. And those were excerpts from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence. My question for all of us today is, will we speak out for truth and justice, as he did, as many did? as the poets do that we will hear from tonight? Or will we remain silent, and will we allow the great sin of injustice to triumph? Friends, brothers, and sisters, we must not be too late. Thank you.
Thank you very much for doing that. Yeah, I think those words from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King resonate with us today. Those were only excerpts, though. You need to go back and read that speech. You need to read it all and ponder what his words were and what they might mean for today. So thank you, Cole. I'm glad you let me twist your arm to this. And he also has just been sworn in as Deputy Clerk of Court for Dauphin County. All right, so now we proceed with our program. Our first poet, Jesse Ward, has unfortunately contacted me this morning and is not feeling well. So he did the right thing and he stayed home, but he sent us his speech and his poem. And so I'm going to pull that poem out right now, and I'm going to introduce you to a very special lady. You know, we have an internship program, and we get some of the best students in our region to participate. We also do this to highlight the works of our students. And Kennedy Holt has been one of the top participants and one of the top students in our internship program, as well as winning first place. How about 3 or 4 years ago? So I asked Kennedy, would you come up and read Jesse Ward's, and you have Jesse Ward's bio, and she agreed to do so. Kennedy,
I am the wound, I am the blade. I am the making and the made. I am skin and blood and bone. I am December, I am June. I am Jimmy Best, I am Samantha Worst. I am the last and the first. I am the cross and the sin. I am that tiny beach off the coast of the Gambia where hurricanes begin. I am the growl at noon, dusk and dark. I am the spear, I am the mark. I am sound and I am wave. I am night and the living beyond day. I am pressure in this weary world. I am the flag of love unfurled. Thank you.
We appreciate you doing that. And Jesse is Executive Director of the Bowers Writers House. And he would have been here, was very much looking forward to it. He wrote this particularly for this event. So we thank you for being able to at least honor him, Kennedy, with this. And now I'd like to call another very special lady, but one who's so powerful and so important to our organization, one of our board members, but well known in our region, and that is Hagir Elsheikh. Hagir, would you come forward? And she also has something pinned for tonight.
Okay. Before I start, I just want to say we cannot honor the legacy of Dr. King if we keep, like Paul said, turning the blind eye on issues that are happening all over the world. You hear me well, right? And when it's injustice, being silent is basically choosing the oppressor. We have so many wars going on now, and you know, Sudan, I'm struggling. In Sudan, in Ukraine, many have different views on the war in Gaza now. And I just want to say you can like the people, but disagree with their government, disagree with the way they handle things. You can like the people and hate a terrorist. So there is no issue of you not liking what Hamas was doing, but at the same time, we cannot stand by by and see children being bombed, hospitals, and a whole city being surrounded, and think it's okay. It's never going to be okay. And I will not stand by injustice anywhere. All right, so eyes of judgment surrounded me, casting hateful stares. You don't belong, they say. Go back to where you're from, go home, go hide. But where is home if it's not where safety, respect, and hope reside? Eyes of judgment trying to diminish my sense of worth, not knowing that I survived torture, displacement, hunger, and the list goes on and on. I still smell my blood scent, lingering, remnant of torture. Whiplashes burn my flesh, forced to stand my oppressor revel in cruel delight, beating, hurting, mocking, prolonging the endless nights, rape, torture, denial of rights was our reality. No other choice but to seek refuge, to find clarity, my body scarred, my spirit wounded, but through it all, I tried to hold into the flicker of life, the flicker of light, that light at the end of the tunnel. No choice remained but to seek refuge, a chance to renew, build shattered dreams, heal the wounds old and new, and leave behind the horror, the miseries, but also leave my loved ones and my cherished memories. And in the back of my mind, I knew no one leave home without a cause unless home breed despair. When non-walls become prison, the soul cannot bear with strengths as my canvas. I braved the great unknown. I left behind the chains that bound to reclaim my own. I stepped into the unknown, found the strengths to flee, left behind the only place that sets my spirit free. No one leave home without a cause unless home brings only pain. When the known becomes torture, survival become my only gain. Drowning on my own tears, embracing the darkest nights, hunger was my constant companion. I lived on dry bread and tea, yearning for relief, wondering if tomorrow's hope I will see. And in that darkness, I tried to find hope and a new beginning beneath foreign skies, becoming a refugee again, starting anew, time and time again, and in my veins flows the spirit of those who came before me. And with that in mind, I triumphed through my tragedies, hoping I can get a chance to renew, rebuilding my shattered dreams and forget what I've been through. As the echoes of Sudan still reside within, I blend the old and new, a dance to begin my story now, weave with Pennsylvania's grace through valleys and hills. My heart roamed free. I found a new beginning, a way to cope, a sanctuary of hope, a warm, welcoming place, the kindness of a stranger's, a gift so divine. In this newfound heaven, my heart aligned. I embrace my newfound strengths. So when you see a refugee, remember my face. Behind each refugee's face, a history resides. A life once cherished, where love abides. Look beyond the surface. See the scars we bear. See the scars I bear. My journey through darkness, trials I dare. Remember my struggles, the battles I have won. Through hardship endured, my strength has begun through shared stories and voices. We unite, for in our shared struggle, strengths will arise and new beginnings will dawn beneath foreign skies. This is still a work in process, progress. If you like it, help me finish it. But no, I just don't want you to remember this and remember one story, because every refugee, every immigrant, every someone who fled from their home and went anywhere to find a new home, it's for a reason. Just remember, no one leave home unless it's really a bad situation. So with that being said, let's all try to speak out. Don't be the voice for the voiceless. We don't want to take that power from them, but amplify their voices. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Just Amen. Thank you guys.
Well, if you can bring a tear to my eye, no apologies are needed. You brought more than one tear, so thank you. And really the message is worth hearing. You know, as she says, no one flees their home and goes through what it takes to just cross and go through all kinds of danger unless it's a matter of life and death. So with that, I thank you. And now I know we're going to move on and not hold you from the dinner, but in the spirit of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we will not eat without calling on the Lord's name to bless the food. So I would ask Pastor Russell Goodman, who just happens to be my husband, and who started a ministry called New Branches Ministries. And we do actually once a month a community dinner focused on Nativity School. The boys there, their families, but everybody's welcome. We normally do it at the Nativity School. And every Friday he's there meeting those boys, middle school boys, right, in chapel. And guess what, guys? They're listening.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. As a member of the board of the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg, I got to tell you, this is probably the event of the year, each year for me, because here we are celebrating someone that I feel is one of the greatest Americans in the history of this country, a personal hero of mine, somebody of indomitable spirit, kind of the spirit that we just heard attested to by our friend Hagir. So I'm delighted to be up here to speak for just a moment, but I'm in the unenviable position of, while being up here, I'm nevertheless between you and the food that you're smelling back there. So I'm going to be as brief as I can be. You know, it's often said that an army moves on its stomach, which is to say that if you want soldiers to fight, and if you want them to fight effectively, you gotta feed them. And it seems to me that there's probably a parallel with the civil rights activists of the 50s and 60s. They needed fuel as well. And you know what? From time to time, not only did they eat, but they ate well. As a brief little canvas of some of the places where they did chow down, I think we'll attest. So, in Selma, Atlantis, what did the Reverend Martin Luther King have? The barbecue sandwich. In Washington, D.C., at Ben's Chili Bowl, what did the activists who were getting ready to go out on the battlefield, so to speak, what did they have there? But half smokes, which are sausages, half beef, spicy half beef and half pork, smothered in chili and served in a little white plate. When they were in Memphis, they stopped in at the four-way and they had catfish. And oh, by the way, it wasn't just civil rights activists who did that, but it was Stax recording artists as well. Just saying. A nice place indeed. In Atlanta, it was Pasha's, where they had fried chicken. And the Freedom Riders, when they were down south, way down south in New Orleans, where did they eat? A place called Dookie Chasers. What did they have? Gumbo, y'all. Oceans of gumbo. A little something, something that Joyce and I can tell you all about. Gumbo at Dookie's. Amen. Amen. So, you know, being a civil rights activist was no joke. It was serious business. But as we can see from time to time, it certainly had its perks and advantages, especially if the groceries were on the house. Amen? All right, before we set out in our own way, before we get out there on the battlefield, let's fuel up ourselves. First, join me if you would, in bowing your head, and let's go before the God of us all. Sovereign, we thank you for the food that we'll be partaking here tonight, and we thank you for the hands that prepared it, of course. Most especially, we thank you for the men and the women who went on before us, who gave it their all, sometimes literally, on the battlefield. We thank you for the example that they set as they battled racial hostility and animosity and the crazy idiot notion of racial superiority in this country. We thank you for the example they set for this nation and for the world, showing that we can live in peace and harmony with all of God's children. So right now, let us lift up our thanks to the God of us all, and let all of God's children say, amen. 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 Amen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Terry Rouse Rosario, and I'm on the board of the Susquehanna Art Museum. And I'm here to talk for a hot second about a program we're doing, but I thought I would take a moment to make a point about why it is relevant. I also happen to be a museum professional, and one of the things that I had the pleasure of doing was bringing online the National Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta, Georgia. And one of the things that we did is exhibit Martin Luther King's collection from his office. And King's papers are in Massachusetts, but his contents of his actual office there in Atlanta became the resources of the Morehouse College, and we created, as we opened the center, a room just to exhibit what was in his office. So if you can imagine walking through the mind of somebody through their office. The thing that struck me the most, and I had a chance to talk about, was looking at Martin Luther King's wallet. So if you opened up his wallet, there was a little piece of paper. And on that piece of paper was a quote from Mahatma Gandhi about nonviolent resistance. So this is what inspired him, that he had to keep it close to him to remind him about his particular presence. And it says something about this room, this house, this personal things that he had. And that's what I want to talk about in terms of the Susquehanna Art Museum. We have an exhibit coming in June of the collections of the Davises, who collect material, African-American related prints and paintings called Memories and Inspirations. It's what inspired them and what brought memories back to them. So in conjunction with this, we're asking all of you to think about what it is that you collect. What are the memories and the inspirations that you have that you say are your collection? Some people collect dolls. Some people collect keys. I heard that somebody collects Oriental rugs. You know, my husband collects pins from Japanese pins. You know, all of these things because they evoke memories in you and inspirations. And when you start talking to people, you find out all these things about why they started to collect. So what we want you to do is to think about bringing those stories to us at the Susquehanna Art Museum. On this piece of paper, it tells you more. It tells you where to send it, and what we want you to do is write 200 to 250 words about why you collect. You know, whatever it is. There's some young people collect sneakers. but why? Some people collect music, but why? You know, some people collect things because their parents collected it, their mothers collected it, but why? So write in 250 words, and why so short? Because we want you to get to the emotional heart of it. What was it that inspired you to do this? Do that, take a picture of part of your collection and send it to us. And we are collecting these stories, and we'll be doing this throughout the next 6 months. The exhibit opens in June, and it will go through the middle of August, and we intend to continue this going because we're going to keep collecting the stories about what inspired people and what their memories about. So that's my book. There you go.
Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you. And I will say this, if you get it with Terry's permission, if you decide to participate in this, I would love to be able to include a little bit of your excerpts in a column that I would write about this event. So thank you, and please do share your thoughts with her. Again, I want to take this time before we move into our poets to acknowledge our sponsors again. And I did see that Aisha Noor came. And Aisha, would you stand up? We are so delighted to have you here with Giant. She is always a supporter, and she's the Chief of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Giant Company. We are always happy to have her here. She's always a contributor, so thank you for being here, Aisha. And also, I want to invite, if they'd like to come up, the Catherine Hershey school reps, who are going to talk to us a little bit about their school, because we really need that information. Would you guys come up and just share that as we finish our dinner here?
Hello. My name is Jackie Gimman, and I'm the enrollment coordinator at our Harrisburg Center. Catherine Hershey Schools is a subsidiary of Milton Hershey Schools, and hopefully you've heard of Milton Hershey Schools and the good work that they've been doing for over 100 years. We're really excited to be named after his wife, Catherine. She's actually the brainchild behind Milton Hershey Schools as well. She just really wanted all children to have access to high quality education. So Catherine Hershey Schools is extending on that legacy, and we're going to be educating the littles, as you shared earlier. So as young as 6 weeks old, up until they transition to kindergarten, our centers will be offering an amazing play-based education to the children. And Andre and myself are part of what we call our family success team. So something unique about our schools is that we have a two-generation approach. And because the education for the children is cost-free, the families have some opportunities to focus on themselves. And our team will walk alongside families as they work toward whatever their hopes and dreams are. So that's a little bit about what we're doing. Our first center is open right now. It's in Hershey. The second center is Harrisburg. We're opening a total of 6 centers. A little different model than Milton Hershey School. They'll be non-residential. So the children will come to us in the day, and they'll go home in the evening to their families. So that's a little brief overview. If you have additional questions, Andre and myself will hang around afterwards. Basically, if you know families in the community of Harrisburg that are struggling to afford childcare, direct them to our website. That is chslearn.org. Thank you so much for having us.
And anybody who doesn't remember that, just contact us. We will put you in contact with Catherine Hershey School, and we'll be inviting them to some of our dinners that we're having at the Nativity School, because they're taking applications now, folks, and they're focused on Harrisburg families, so please don't miss this opportunity. I also want to tell you that we have so many great people in our midst tonight. I'm just delighted. I saw this. Narcisse, American Son, is also the owner of that is here. Do you want to come up and just say a word about your play?
Yes.
Come on. Give us a little bit of information. Yes. We want to lift you up. From reading, I know.
Wow, thank you very much. Hey everybody, my name is F.L. Leonard Jr., but please call me Frank, and I'm the artistic director and founder of Narcisse Theater Company, established in 2016. Narcisse Theater Company is a BIPOC-led, multicultural, nonprofit theater company, an arts education organization dedicated to cultivating the artistic aspiration of Harrisburg's underserved, marginalized, and immigrant students, artists, and communities. Our next production, one more thing to tell you about Narcisse Theater Company is since we started, half of our production is part of our mission. Half the shows that we put on are original plays and works by local playwrights and performance artists, and we never, ever, ever charge more than $15 for a ticket because we do not want money to separate us and you, our audience. And every Sunday matinee is any old donation due to that same reason. Our next show is a great little play. It is a super intense. It's called American Son by Christopher Demos Ward. Many of you might, if you've ever go to Broadway, in 2018 it was on Broadway. Kerry Washington in 2019 converted, went to Netflix, turned it into a movie, and it won an Emmy there. It is a great play. It takes place in modern day. This is a play about policing, race, and families in the 21st century. February, the show goes up. There'll be 11 performances, February 2nd through the 18th. To find out more information, please check us out at www.narcissetheater.org. We have some flyers over there, and if you want to find out more about Narcisse Theater Company, our arts education organization that's coming up and that's starting this summer, the Young Artists Academy, which will be an after school and a summer program in which we will reach out to Harrisburg City students and give them instruction in acting, improv, creative writing, art, music, and dance at absolutely zero cost to those students and to their parents. And if you would like to donate, or an organization that would like to help sponsor these students and our mission, please once again either reach out to me, Frank Henry, or Narcisse Theater at www.narcissetheater.org. Thank you very much for being this opportunity.
Happy to have you here. We want to lift up these things. Okay, I'm putting this back in so it'll be easier for our poets. And now we're going to begin our poetry slam. Okay, as they call it. We are going to start. I am just thrilled to introduce you now to someone who's been walking with us in this adventure here every year for, at least 8-9 years, I'm sure. Rick has been a part of this. Rick Kearns is with us. He is a freelance journalist, but he's also the first Latino poet laureate of the city of Harrisburg. He is truly phenomenal. He's published, and so that you can read his bio, I won't go into that because it would take time away from his presentation. So with that, please let's give a warm welcome to Rick Kearns.
Anyway, I'll start this again and get through the whole thing. It's called To This Struggle. I wish I could find the answer in a book. And there it would be in black and white, but no such luck. And I'm looking to you, looking up to you, Dr. King, today. When you led the Poor People's Campaign, did you see this coming? Did you see too many people working too many hours for so little, for so long? Did you see people, families with full-time jobs, standing in line at food banks? The families of soldiers on food stamps? Did you foresee that we would spend more, much more, on incarceration instead of education? It was in April 1968 when you spoke to black sanitation workers from a Memphis union. You said, quote, "We've got to give ourselves to this struggle until the end." You said this the day before the forces of hate stole you from us. Stole you. And in our rage and grief, we forgot for a moment that you had crossed color lines, but not picket lines. To bring us all together for a few glorious seconds that we are hoping to see again. The struggle is not over, Dr. King. And I'll keep reading, I'll keep searching through those powerful and inspiring speeches you bequeathed to us, in the hopes we would avoid, quote, the racism, militarism, and materialism you tried to warn us about. The struggle is far from over, Dr. King, and we will need your strength to make it to the end. Another couple, one that I've been meaning to read to folks for a while, and I haven't thought of it until recently again. And these are the words that were put on the Statue of Liberty. And it's from a poem called The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, she cries with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And there was one other poem that I don't think I've read here before. And I've been thinking about it again. I wrote this for a friend who had lost his son in a terrible accident. And it's called What Prayer Can Be. Do you know the story of San Manuel, the good martyr? He kept himself busy constantly to avoid being still. In the stillness, he saw only the black, starless night reflected on the lake near the rectory. I understand his story, but I am more blessed. I find the linear corollary in the idea of energy. I felt it in praying and playing congas, and the light in some eyes, any eyes. And that energy, I feel, is spirit. Yeah, sure, you can find it in pretty buildings with nice windows, but it's more easily detectable near streams and late-night jam sessions. The cosmic trifecta, however, involves feeling it and then sending it. This is what prayer can be. Thank you.
Did not miss hearing that. Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to go forward and hear from another of our legendary figures in our area. And I'm not exaggerating to say that. Reverend Nathaniel Gadsen is is a legend in our community and in our region for sure. He has encouraged so many poets. He has made his mark himself, expressed himself through his poetry. He's even moderated this for us. And he's also a member of our board of directors of the World Affairs Council and helped found this organization. He and his wife, Pat, who are both beloved figures in our community. And so we always invite our Dean of Poets in Harrisburg to come and offer us his remarks at this time. So the Reverend Nathaniel Gadsen, please welcome him as he comes to offer his views. And last time I think he presented, he had a new book out, so he was able to read from that. So welcome, Reverend Gadsen.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And welcome to you all, because this is a fantastic event. I want to echo what Brother Russell says. Look forward to this event every year. And I thank Dr. Joyce Davis and the board of the World Affairs Council for having the foresight to put this on. How many years has it been, Joyce?
Oh, probably 8 or 9, I think,
9
maybe
years.
10.
And congratulations to all of our youth poets and storytellers. I have 2 pieces to offer. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King said that nonviolence is not for the faint of heart. He actually said that practicing nonviolence takes strength and resolve. It is not a pathway for those who seek to avoid conflict, yet, as there is nothing passive about nonviolence. Rather, this is an active stance emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. He said those who practice are always looking for ways to persuade their opponents and looking for methods to effect change. Dr. King said they are in community with those suffering, building bridges of influence to those in power, and seeking to build support for their cause. He went on to say that nonviolence seeks to defeat injustice in our people, and that the goal of nonviolence is reconciliation. He also said that redemptive suffering holds transformational power. He went on to say that nonviolence pertains to physical acts and internal thoughts, and that the universe is on the side of justice. I mention that because I have been for a long time a follower, a believer in, and a supporter of the methods of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it started back when I was in junior high school, and reading Ebony magazine. Well, actually, I didn't read Ebony, I just looked at the pictures. Let me just tell the truth about it. Ebony and Jet magazine helped to direct me to a wider view of the world. And I came out of a situation, as many of us have, I'm sure, in this room, where things weren't the way they were supposed to be. Grew up in poverty in one sense, but then I had an extended family that showed me what family really is about. And also what the possibilities were, even for myself. So as a young kid, I was torn between anger and rage, and also following the dictates of Dr. King, who, by the way, was a minister first and foremost. And that impressed me. Why? Because I grew up in a Christian home with my grandmother, Issabella Robinson. We never missed church because church was important to Roosevelt Robinson, therefore it's important to all of us, whether we like it or not. And so, having said that, I want to read a true story. It's called, and it's a poetic form, it's called She Grabbed Me. And this is something that probably happened to me when I was in the 4th grade. She grabbed me like a thug in the night, like a back alley sneak attack, urban guerrilla style. She shook the shame out of me. I was ashamed that I didn't have any books that were required for class. I was ashamed that my clothes were wrinkled and stained from 2-day-old pizza and chicken grease. I was ashamed that some of my classmates had witnessed the source of my shame, my family, on full display for all to see, the drinking, the cursing, the fighting, the theater of dysfunction and despair. The price of admission to this spectacle was free. She didn't ask me if my mother was fighting and fussing all night. She never asked me if I knew where my books were. I knew my books were. Yeah, they were missing. They were somewhere in the cluttered state of our welfare decorated apartment with beer cans and wine bottles thrown everywhere. My teacher didn't know, nor did she care to know, of the army of roaches that had taken up residence in our apartment without a lease agreement or even a fair handshake agreement. They just showed up. She never asked me if my father even bothered to come home and if I missed him. She never asked me if I was all right after the horrible night at my home without electricity or heat in the dead of winter. She never asked me anything. She never asked me anything. She just shook the shame out of me in front of the whole class for all to see and just walked away. We were in the 4th grade. We were all black except for one white kid left behind. Trapped, I think. She was a white woman called teacher, and I was a black boy called red hot hatred, red hot mess, just red hot. I lost all shame that day. I was mad, no, I was enraged, and I was determined to shake the devil out of her one day. But I never did. And I thank God that I didn't. Prison is the new form of slavery, and I chose freedom. Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you. So we are in the midst of a pandemic again. If you don't know, the hospitals once again are filled with people.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about RSV.
Yes, that's right.
And we have so many things happening and so much that we should be concerned about. A couple years back, I wrote this piece when we were in the midst of a full pandemic, and it's called Pandemic Diary. I think I read this before actually when we were on doing everything on Facebook. But once again, it's a true story, and I just want to lift this up again tonight. It says this: the door of the chapel has a distinctive sound. I happen to work as a chaplain for UPMC hospitals at West Shore. It moves slowly as it opens and slowly and slower as it closes. It breaks the silence of the prayer and the mediator and the griever. It pushes and pulls out to the hospital hallway, always presenting a danger to anyone passing too close, especially if their hands are full or their minds are elsewhere. My small office is inside the chapel. I hear the prayers, the anguished cries, the silence of despair. I occasionally hear the nervous laughter of waiting family and friends who are not allowed to visit their loved ones because, like everything else, the rules of engagement have changed. On this day, the chapel door opens, but the sound is different. The high-pitched cry drowns out the distinctive sound of the door. The cry is loud and gut-wrenching. The cry is telling a story. I don't know the beginning or the ending of the story, but I have heard the story before. I sat for a minute listening, leaning forward in my chair, frozen and lasered into the sound of the cry. I opened my office door, walked toward the sound, the cry, the storyteller in despair. I introduced myself as the chaplain. I spoke with an emphatic voice and with the hope that he would allow me to enter into his story. She would not take my shot. She would not take the shot. And now she has the virus, he said, trying to catch his breath. My daughter also has the virus because she followed everything my wife told her about the shots. He talked and I listened. He was a master storyteller, and I felt his pain, his anger, and his despair. I don't know what I'll do if they die, is what I hear him saying most. Together we prayed and prayed and prayed to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. He told me how much he loved his wife, and he spoke with conviction. His face lit up and sparkled through the tears of sadness which were ever flowing. He was present with me physically, but his spirit was in the room with his wife, the absolute love of his life. He looked at me and said, after a long pause, my wife and daughter cannot die. They are all I have to live for. I didn't say a word. Actually, I couldn't say a word. He stood up like a weight was pulling his shoulders down. He was bent inside and out. We hugged and shook hands. I gave him my blessed assurance that I would be there for him and his family as an ever-present help for the Lord. And the distinctive sound of the door sent him on his way. The next day, his wife died, and we cried together. He said, the last thing she said to me was, I am sorry. By the grace of God, 14 days later, his daughter was released from the hospital. And I was honored to see him smile. He said, thank you, my brother. And my black hand and his white hand clasped together strong. And I said, no, thank you, my brother. And may God be with you. And I was sure that God was with both of us. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Yes, I do remember when you first shared that poem with us, and it was in a Zoom. We had done this as a Zoom poetry session. It was powerful, but I think in person it's even more powerful, Reverend Gadsen. So thank you so much for sharing. Listen, I also want to share with you, that the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg is part of the national network, the World Affairs Councils of America. We come together, I'm on the board of the national organization, and there are World Affairs Councils all over our country. Some of our councils think they're only doing important events if they bring in nationally known people, and they bring in ambassadors, and we do that too. But I'm telling you, the talent here in our region is world class. I don't have to look anywhere but right here for the talent and for these kinds of events. So I want to just thank those who have appeared so far. And now I'm going to give her a moment to settle when I see that one of our stars is here. She has come into the house. Maria Chow is in the house. And so I'm going to invite Maria James Thiaw, who is not only a poet, but a playwright and a leader in our literary scene. Can I please invite you to welcome as heartily as you can our daughter of poetry and prose, Maria James Thiaw.
Thank you for that well-timed introduction. Well, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day, everyone. One day early. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, that's good. So I'm gonna share a few poems with you. This first one is from my play, Reclaiming My Time. And it was written based on the stories of women who remembered the civil rights era. So this first one, so they tell me their stories and I translate it into poetry. So I pulled out one that starts off a little fun, but kind of shows you what people were going through at the time. So it's called Bandstand. And the griot, which is a West African word for a storyteller, the griot that gave me this story was my mother. And so and just for backstory, she's from Philadelphia, and her school, her high school, was right next to American Bandstand. Okay, so for the kids that don't know what that is, that was like the hot show with all the best music, the new music was on the show, and it was very famous. Okay, so here we go, Bandstand. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the world of the Goldfinger. In the 50s, America gave birth to a rhythm and sound all its own with an Afro-influenced backbeat, European melody, Jazz kissed blues, and something new grew into the groovy shake, rattle and roll on our radios. Ooh, wee! That Geeter with the heater could spit magic. Discophonic sound round the clock made earworms that wriggled through yon teen minds. West Catholic girls couldn't help but move, bebopping to a new groove. Well, that 3 o'clock bell sounded off like Rudolph Isley. Woo! He made us want to shout. Run out to Studio B next door. Get in line to live the teen dream on screen. Glide on the floor like a bird in air. Show off your new shimmy and shake and your twist while mama watched the box in her living room rock. Come on, girls, fix that flirty flip. Cherry red lips, mascara just so. Roll that Catholic plaid up a few inches and loosen that Peter Pan. Lost boys will be found on American Bandstand. We made locomotion from our desk to Studio B. Bellies rolled in anticipation, carrying butterfly wings that could only rest with a strut, twist, hitchhiker, slop to the floor, then back up again, spinning like those 45s. We were ready for the Rockin' Robin, waiting to be noticed in that bandstand line. Now wait a minute. Every week, kids with Polish, Italian, Irish last names were moved to the front of the line. It didn't matter how much we'd shout, what the Inquirer would print. Georgie Woods didn't have the goods to knock down that studio door. They called us too loud, too angry to soil their dance floor. The show was a hit despite us. No, because of us. Dancing in the street. Back in school, we'd hear about Chubby Checker, the OJs, the Temptations, from white kids that took our drag and flick, our hully gully, our funky chicken, our monkey, our mashed potato, our cool jerk, our tighten up into Studio B, while we stood outside with a boogaloo and a dream. And it ends with this quote from Georgie Woods. Like I said, baby, don't eat chicken on Sunday. It'll put a hole in your soul. Is that black enough for you? Thank you. That was my mother's experience in Philadelphia. I interviewed women from around the country, and one woman, Miss Jean Ridley, was from the South and worked at a school that was bombed by the KKK. And she was a white lady, and she thought everything was fine in her town until this happened and woke her up. She talked about how as a kid, as a 16-year-old kid, she knew that there was segregation. She said it felt a little funny, but she didn't know why until this bombing happened at her school. This poem reflects her thoughts as a teenager. It's called Southern Sit Right. Something about this just don't sit right with me. I know, it's respect. It's the way it's always been. But I'm bound on a bus, a newly blossomed flower, 16 years old with that light that lingers in the eyes when you know you have a whole life stretched out ahead of you. At 16, joints and muscles follow your commands. You can bounce out of bed after staying up half the night. 16 is strong. 16 is beauty. 16 is a privilege. So I don't understand why when I get on the bus, all the colored men rise, like I'm the Queen of England. All the colored men rise, even those trembling with age. The colored men rise, even if they're leaning on canes. This one winces as he stands. This one's back remains crooked. I hear the crack and pop as this one struggles with a head tip and a moaning ma'am. I can't hardly look at him. All this pain for a child on a bus. I know they mean respect. I know it's just our way, but something about this just don't sit right with me. Another woman I interviewed for Reclaiming My Time was Dr. Carro Spigner. And she was a teenager. She was a college student during the March on Washington. But she was overseas. And that made her feel really guilty to know what was going on back home. But she learned something. This poem is called Newsprint. A dream dropped into my hands, my third year, study abroad in India. The chance to immerse myself in a new song, wrap up in silks and scents of another land, understand a new people, a new culture, taste spice and music, burning and sensual, and the bitter familiarity of a caste system. I could have blocked out the call of home, wrapped myself up in scholarship and experience, forgotten all the girls like me being chased by dogs, drugged through streets, thrown in jail fighting the three evils. All I could do was hold home between my fingers in the flimsy black and white pages of the Times. Sit-ins, marches, burning buses, people clawing, screaming for supremacy, holding on to it at all costs. The news was for me. The news was about me. The news was, despite me. It pulled at my heart each day as I saw cops drag college girls by their hair. Peaceful protesters hit by back-tearing water hoses. Fierce fangs German shepherds sunk into skin, blood, flesh. How dare I be free? Flying to other lands when buses are firebombed, little girls slaughtered on Sunday. How dare I imagine boarding a magic carpet out of this war zone, the only Negro on our trip. No one else saw their faces reflected in newsprint. The news was for me. The news was about me. The news was, despite me. Awaiting the flight home, laid over in Cairo, I sat with my classmates as if emerging from a mist. A man appeared, pointed me out, greeted me like an old friend. Emphatically, he stressed a word I didn't understand. Hullum, 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 he said. Then he handed me a copy of the Times. 200,000 Jam Mall in Mammoth Rally. An unimaginable number, peaceably assembled, as Dr. King's words rang out across continents. The news was for me. The news was about me. The news was, despite me. The news was bigger than me. Joy spilled from this man. Hullum, 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 he said. dream. The news wasn't mine. It was the world's. Thank you so much. And if anyone here may also have memories of the civil rights movement, especially women that lived during that time, or maybe your mother or your grandmother or your auntie, please get in contact with me because I am expanding Reclaiming My Time into a novel in verse that is geared for young adults. So please get in contact with me before we leave because I'd love to collect those stories. Thanks for having me.
Well, that was absolutely incredible. Come on, let's give it up for the really cool crowd. Wow. Marie, I'm not sure if someone born in 1953 in New Orleans, Louisiana might have something to share, but I'll talk to you. Yep, old down south. Anyway, now we come to another special part of our program. One we all have been waiting for, and I have to ask Michelle to come up and help me here because we are going to move to invite our student winners to come forward. And so let me find the list. So the way we do this, we had this year the greatest number of entries we have ever had. And they were from schools throughout the region. I mean, this is exploding and I couldn't be more happy with it because it's encouraging young people to write, to express themselves, to be creative. And not only to be creative, but to be creative with a purpose, right? Because the one thing poets do is they speak to our souls, they speak to our conscience. They inspire us to be better, the best poets. And we have the next generation here in our midst. The competition was so tough that we narrowed it down to 6 finalists. And what I would like to do now is to begin by calling the 3 students, the 3 entries that were absolutely superb, that received honorable mention. We'd like them to come forward and to also read from their works. And I'd like to invite Madison Love of Dover High School. I'd like to invite Ky'Mirh Smith of CASA, 11th grade, and Issabella Carro, also of Dover High School. These are honorable mentions. They are incredible young poets. And so I don't know if they have their poems with you, but we will ask Madison, would she step forward and read her poem first? That's all right. You can take it out.
The feeling of being left out, always being told to wait. Having the feeling of doubt, people think it's okay to hate. Discrimination so unkind, time to stand our ground, some left behind, done being bound. Time to escape, time takes the reign, all at stake, no more pain. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison. Thank you so much. Wow. Beautiful. And now we will have Ky'Mirh Smith to come. Ky'Mirh.
This one's called A World Wanted and a World Known. Within the echoing silence of tomorrow, there is a call to action, but not to fight. A call to action to end all strife, respect all life, and not diminish the light. We can create a world where the young can grow old and the old can feel young. Not a world where I swung, you swung, but a world where we came together and the bells of peace rung. A time to break silence, accept change, fight hate, and stop the violence. We are being controlled by fear, the devil whispering in our right and left ears. But through that whisper is a shout, to take on the mission, spread the vision, and teach your children to continue and carry it out. All it takes is change. Change that's within the range of your grasp. Don't forget the past, but stand where you are, look ahead, and move fast. Because the world's waiting, but it won't be forever.
Oh, wow. Beautiful, really beautiful. That Dover is something. That high school, you guys had a lot of great entries this year. And now Issabella Carro.
This is what don't mean. Just
Speak out, we want to hear this. You can? I'll stand with you. Would you like me to read it?
it's okay.
I'll read it for you. You stand with me, okay? I'm going to read it today. Don't Wait by Issabella Carro. Just wait. Just wait, just wait. Over and over, just wait. Just wait. Disregarding all segregation, violence, said peace will be brought, but oh, it still stayed. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. He knew there was no more waiting now, though it's what needs to be done. Speak out, speak out, speak out for the peace. He knew peace must be over this land. Make them understand. Speak out. Speak out. Speak out. He was met with force, but just kept speaking. His words were loud, strong, and proud. He showed them thoughts, feelings, and guided them for its time. Speak out. Speak out. Speak out. That's what they did. Now, it took time, but they broke the silence. Loud and proud, they stayed speaking till the pain was gone and peace was there. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait, they were told along. But he knew there was only one way. Speak out. Speak out. Speak out. Issabella Carro. And now they get their award. And how about a picture? You have to go and do the picture. You know, our artists, especially our young artists, are sensitive souls, right? They feel what they're writing. And so I want to stand and give them the strength that only a few years can bring you, right? But we respect you all, we honor you all, you are fantastic writers. Please keep writing. So let's do our picture. That was truly amazing, truly amazing. As you will see that all of these awardees, all of these young people really deserve our admiration. And now we are going to take and move to our third place winner. The third place winner has a piece that is untitled, but it is by Chase Hagir. It's in 12th grade at Dauphin County Technical School. Chase, are you here with us? Come forward, Chase. We're ready to hear your play. Actually, you have a story, a short story that you're going to read from us. Chase, we welcome you.
Nation built on independence and self-determination, bastion of peace and democracy. Nation united against moral ideals. Nation built upon a rotten core. A nation built on lies. A nation fueled by the suffering and servitude of those in faraway lands. A nation silent, and for what? A single penny from the poor into the pockets of those with plenty. A nation silencing others, and for what? A single penny from the poor into the pockets of those with plenty. Bastion of peace inciting war, and for what? A single penny from the poor into the pockets of those with plenty. A nation that grew by reaping the benefits and inflicting harm and suffering upon those who they deemed lesser. A nation that announced that hating, declaring all people equal. A A nation that is still growing on its original ideals. A nation that sells out its own strength of mind and might. And for what? A single penny from the poor into the pockets of those with money. A penny from the starving stolen to sit alone forever surrounded by steel. Never touched, never seen, never noticed, never cared for. Just as the penny. Never loved, never fed, never represented, never helped in what? Because they were exploited by the rich, used to siphon the wealth from those without immense wealth. Work brought away from the land of the proud, labor bought with pennies sold for bars, children risking life and limb to help put a slice of bread on the table. A nation that denounced the use of child labor, selling away its strength of material and moral for a tainted pen. A nation founded on the principle that all are created equal, funding the extermination of innocent lives merely born into a bad place. A nation doing this, not for its poor, but for its rich. The rich who already possess enough to live 1,000 lifetimes. The rich who care not for the people. The rich who are praised by the poor for their hard work, that earn their fortunes despite it coming from a time before they lived. Without care, they find and they drill. They take and they give not a gift. Without care, they spend ludicrous amounts on their own leisure. So many pray and pray for their next meal. They raise prices saying we don't wish it, but we must, while records break profit. They raise prices saying it's for the workers, while cutting employment. They raise these prices with not greed in their eyes. They take good and sell it for gold. They take the peace of nations and shatter it for their own goals. They take the lives of the innocent and use them as pawns in their boards of war. Then there is the matter of the poor folks stuck in the street, our fellow humans down in their luck and we evade, begging for aid. Their pleas fall on deaf ears as we continue to ignore our fellow men in need of aid. Conversely, listening to the calls of the rich, budgets focus not on aiding these unfortunate souls, the cheapest choice in my opinion, but instead on torturing them, ruining everyone's lives in the process. What they do not wish is to see us together. Together our voice can sound louder than half-truths and false promises. Together our voice can save those in need. Together we can bring about the change we need to improve the world. Only together. It is through the strength of our unity and the strength of our diversity that we can bring about this change. Should we remain divided, we shall see no progress. Our voices divided are quiet, but united are strong and clear. Together we have more power than their greed can possess. Divided we have no strength. The greatest strength of humanity is the power we can achieve when we work together. And so we must work together to solve this problem. Together we can bring light to the lives of those in need and prevent more from suffering that fate. Together we can change the world forever.
That was beautiful. I think this is Chase. Chase, we want to thank you for honoring our call for poems and on this theme. We understand how hard this is for a young person to stand up and read their poetry, but we loved it. We loved it. Keep going.
Keep going.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm just filled when I hear the young people step forward. It really gives me hope. And second place, a young lady I think I know pretty well because she's been in our competition before, and she's been an intern with the World Affairs Council. Our second place award, As the Clock Struck for Peace by Sahiti Kulkarni. Sahiti, please come forward. I am so proud of this young lady. She is going to go far, and I've agreed to be a mentor for us. Come on, Sahiti. There's your.
I just wanted to begin by saying thank you to the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg and the Civic Club for holding this amazing opportunity. When I think of Martin Luther King Jr. and just this amazing day that we celebrate, I think of all just the struggle, but also the strength that we had to carry through. And I think that's really important for us to celebrate. So I'm going to be reading a little excerpt from my piece called As the Clock Struck for Peace. Tick, tock, tick. I suddenly paused in my train of thought. The heat of the fire unexpectedly became extremely warm, and I had no intention of my face turning pink from the heat. My mama said that always happened to me. As I ushered myself over to our kitchen table, the family radio, which was stationed in the middle of our grand old oak table, came to my attention. Ma and Pa went out that day, and Georgie was out with little Reggie from across the street. It was just me and the radio, and nothing was stopping me from messing with it just a little bit. We kids weren't allowed to touch the radio, but a little fun never hurt no one, now did it? I twisted the knob of the radio multiple times in many different ways. However, this may not have been the smartest move, as it was at that moment that the knob fell off and a random channel on the radio began to blare a large, booming voice. It sounded like a man. Now, the man may have been random to me, but the message he carried was not so much. The single phrase, "I have a dream," continued to play over and over again on the radio. Other than the fact that this now told me that I had broken our radio, I soon learned another thing as well. We all have a dream. A dream to be equal and a dream to be loud. A dream to be successful and a dream to be proud. Tick, tock, tick, tock, ding. It is almost as if every gentle movement of the hands on the clock signified a passing time, a passing opportunity. I soon realized that the so-called gentle movement was not so gentle, but was truly ever so deep in meaning. However, the echo of the ding now signified something else. It meant that it was time. It was finally the time for my community of powerful Black men, women, and children and I to speak up against it all. To be treated as a free dove was always a dream of my youth. Yet the oppressive cage left us encapsulated, restricted, suffocated. For it was this mistreatment which silenced us and left us numb. With the power we held, we were suppressed. Although our voices were never weak, we never lost the strength to keep ourselves strong in the restless storm of injustice. But as I looked up at the clock, I knew that it was time. No more waiting and no more inequality. It was now time for peace, and I could hear it calling my name. Thank you.
Before we announce our first place winner, I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge our judges who participated in this and you should know that Michelle made sure all of the judges only saw the poems. They saw no names, they saw no schools, right, Michael? They only saw the work that allowed us to do this thing right. The work stood for itself. So I would like to ask our judges now who participated in this competition this year to please stand to accept our appreciation. Michael Lear-Olympi, Russell Goodman, Adina, Daniya, Gadsen, thank you all for taking time to make this happen. We appreciate it. And they had work to do. Evie DeJesus as well from Penn Line. They had a lot of hard work to do. So thank you for doing this and for helping us to honor these young writers. And now, first place winner goes to the author of Are You Listening? By Daniya Royster. Daniya, are you here? Oh, I heard the two chief over there. Daniya, are you here? Daniya has to be here somewhere. Come on. I know you're here. We were going to read the poem for you if you didn't tell you, so come on in. Thank you.
It's Daniya Royster.
Oh, sorry. What are you doing now?
I am a Black person, a POC, a Negro, a creature, a figment of your imagination. Whatever you want, all that matters is that you're listening. So tell me, are you listening? We're sat in classrooms taught the hardships of our ancestors, watered down and filtered for the benefit of our society. But we can't, we won't admit that. Our society is quick to advocate, cover up their tracks. We hear the slang in the streets, the black sense and the black fishers, the stereotypical culture, and society is quick to appropriate. I know you're hearing me, but are you listening? We've worn our words on our shirt, but you weren't listening. You're taught Black history, but are you listening? You're played Black music, but are you listening? You're read Black writing, but are you listening? You're even shown Black art, but are you listening? We express ourselves to show our pain, not for society to take it and exploit us for its personal gain. Society can't handle the
the truth, and you know better than to say America's name in vain. This is bigger than just a race thing, bigger than politics. This is bigger than appropriation, bigger than a complaint. This is bigger than a community enraged, but you aren't listening. You're throwing up fists and advocating in front of a lens, but go no further than that. We've been handed the short end of the stick, the shortest month, the shortest time to shine, the shortest attention span of society. This is bigger than a protest, this is bigger than a movement, this is bigger than racial prejudice, this is bigger than celebrating minorities. And you're saying you're listening. You're hearing what I'm saying, but you aren't listening, are you?
Wonderful, yes. Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Well done. Well done to all of our young poets. We really want to encourage you to keep writing. Every one of you. I'm telling you, we had a lot of entries this year.
24 entries is a lot of
You
entries.
rose to the top. You rose to the top. Before I end this, and I also call all of our award winners who want to take a group picture with you, if you would be so kind, and then if your families want to be with you, that's good too. But before we do, there's a young lady, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but she did tell me that she had a poem that she might want to read. And so just because Aeris Hudson has been working so hard today in this house to get it ready, and she simply whispered in my ear, if anybody doesn't, if somebody calls out, I'll be happy to. And I said, you're a poet? So let's just open our hearts and because poets want you to hear them, right? They want to perform. Aeris, we love you. Come and read your poem for us. Throw this out.
Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Aeris Hudson. I am the Event Operations Director here at the Civic Club of Harrisburg. I take great pride in my work here. And before I got here, I was a student at North Carolina A&T State University, where I was the poet laureate. So, I have a short poem. And I don't know if it falls in line with the theme today, but it is my audience I write for. I'm very proud to write for Black people, specifically Black women. That is me. That is what I grew to be. And so that is my target audience. And I am proud of that. This piece is from a book I am working on right now called Little Africa on Fire. It is called Black. I am Black, and so is my mama, and her mama too. And we come from a long line of women who are known for making something out of nothing, to whom cooking and cleaning aren't chores, whose hair grows from the root as thick as the thighs that carry them, whose heads roll back in laughter that gives the sun its color, that gives them their color like molasses, wide nose and big. Used to be perfect for warming the bed for NASA. Used to be perfect for a step up and take a look at this sideshow. I carried Sarah Bartman on my back. I carried Harriet Fall before the $20 bill. I bear the tears of wives whose husbands were sold. I bear the fear of his infinite unknown. I bear the breast of Black women lactating for babies of paste complexion while away from their own with no recollection of what freedom was like. And you can't figure out why I get so pissed when white women take our ish. Why I get so pissed when they say we come from piss poor countries on piss poor continents full of AIDS, so that just can't be right. Because before the ships came, we came from the clay, we bathed in the bay. Who traveled to the Caucasus and tamed the savages? Who taught them how to take baths again? I'm Black. And so is my dad. And my son is too. And they come from a long line of men who work as honest gets by the sweat of their brow, who drive big trucks and got mad style, who keep a shotgun by the bed at night, who will teach you the real definition of sleep tight, ready for the white hoods to walk through the doors in the black of the night, ready to let the shells fly like the shells of men that sway like pendants by the necks, on the necks of trees with branches strong enough to bear the weight of the world, strong enough to bear the thoughts of meeting mama and telling her nothing has changed. But he did his best, leaving firstborn son and daughter for rape and slaughter by hands of ghostly color. Identify it. It is a body unidentifiable by mama found in Mississippi waters. It is my click, click, click baby's body strung up by click, click, click fan and drugged downstream like bait for the gators. It is a body in a box with an open top and a cover on Jet magazine. Show them what the whites do over wolf whistles that never even happen. They're black. They bear the wounds of black men's flesh torn by pigskin whips long before the Kaepernicks. I'm black. I am the Nile flowing north, carrying my people to freedom. I am black. I am the face of the hope they get from Jesus. I am black. I am the embodiment of the origin of life. I am black. I am black. I am black. I am black. Thank you.
It's going to happen next year. Okay, 2025, you will be here. All right. Again, all right, well, now, and again, my applause to each one of you for taking time on this cold night to be here, to lead us in this community, this diverse, this multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural celebration of all that is good and noble in Dr. King's legacy. So please go forward. We hope you have a project to do tomorrow so that you're not just sitting around taking a day off, but actually a day on, not a day off. And again, please, to our young people, keep those pins, or if you're clicking, keep that going. We want to hear from you next year as well. Good night, everybody.